Hello everyone, welcome back to Decode with Harsha. Today we are going to see about tuples in Python. So our real-time challenge is going to be on the quiz score analyzer. Okay, so first we are going to see what is a tuple and how the tuple will look like, and then we are going to go into each and every concept. Okay, in an easier way we'll be able to understand each and everything. Okay. So first, let's see what is a tuple. A tuple stores multiple values in one variable, similar to an array, correct? So, in very many values which is being stored in one single variable. So here in an example, you can see scores equal to 78, 92, 65, 88, 92. So these are all stored within the parenthesis. Okay, but in list we saw square brackets, but here we'll be using parenthesis. Okay, and always remember a tuple is ordered, so every value has an index. Okay, so tuple will be always ordered. You cannot change the order of the tuple, and always the index number will be fixed for the tuples. Okay, let's see that one by one. So what is the difference between tuple and list? So list can be changed, but tuple cannot be changed. Okay, so it's very important point. We use a tuple, we need to be very conscious because the data is going to be fixed. Okay, so we cannot change the data once if we enter the values in a tuple. Okay, and the order also cannot be changed. So here we are creating a tuple. So scores equal to, inside the parenthesis we have these values. Okay, will be separated by commas as in list, but in list we saw each and every element was within an inverted commas, but here we not require that. Okay, and data equal to open parenthesis and close parenthesis. Here we are just creating an empty tuple here. Okay, and when x equal to 50 comma, so here we have a one item of the tuple. So the comma makes a one item tuple. Okay, commas which will be separating each and every element in the tuple. Clear? Next is indexing. So this is how the indexing takes place in tuples. So index, I hope you know the index value always starts with 0. Okay, so once if this particular index is fixed for all the scores, we cannot change the order. So I cannot replace this particular 78 with another number. So the 0th index will have the number as 78 only, cannot change. Okay, so scores of 0, 78. So in 0th index, 78 only will be there. And in my second index, 65 only will be there. And then -1. So here it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when it comes reverse index will be -1, -2, -3, -4 and -5. That's how it comes. Okay, so -1 will give me 92. Okay. That is negative indexing. Hope you understood. So your negative indexing will be like this. So it starts from here. -1, it comes -2, -3 like that. It ends with -5. Okay, so like this, the negative indexing will be going. Next is slicing. So when do I use this concept slicing? Slicing is used if I wanted to need only the numbers in between. For example, I need numbers from third place to uh, sixth place. Only numbers till that I need. In that case, I use slicing. Okay. So scores equal to 78, 92, 65, 82, 92. Same. So print scores of 1:4. Okay, that means from index 1. So which is index 1? 92. Okay. So 92, 65 and 88 alone is taken. Why 92 is not taken? Because always in slicing, it will consider the number, whatever number you give here, it will consider the number before that. Okay, so here if I give 4, it will consider only till 3, index value 3. Okay, so if I give 2, it will take only 1. If I take 3 here, it will take only till 2, second index. Okay, so that is how this works. Slicing will be working. I already explained this when I was teaching your list also. Okay, so the ending index is not included. This is also a very important point to remember. Next is tuple immutability. Okay, so this is where we come to understand that tuples cannot be changed. A real-time example, let us take list like in a notebook. If you write something with a pencil, you can erase it, correct? Or even if you write with a pen, you can erase it. But tuple is like if you print something on a paper using a printer, can you erase it? No. So it is like that. Remember always list and tuple like that. List can be changed, but tuple cannot be changed. Okay, so that is how. See here, the scores is given to you. Scores of 0 equal to 100. Now I'm trying to change this 78 to 100, but my output is like type error because tuples cannot be changed. In 0th index, it will take only 78. It will not take 100. So a tuple cannot be changed after creation. That is what they are coming to say. So once if you create a tuple, it is permanent and it is ordered. Okay, the order also cannot be changed. These are some of the useful functions and methods that we use in tuples. Max function is used to identify the highest value in the tuple, and min function is used to identify the lowest value in the tuple, and sum of method is used to identify the total. Okay, and len is the length of the tuple, so number of values, and scores dot count is to identify how many times the particular tuple, particular number has occurred. Scores dot index of 92, first position. So index of, to identify the position, each and every position of the particular number, we use index of. If I want to know index, what is the index value of 92, I use dot index of method. Okay, so these are some of the functions and methods that we use to identify in tuples. Okay, for analyzing tuples, we use all these functions and methods. So this is the real world challenge that I was speaking about. So we have 10 quiz scores stored in a tuple. Okay, so what is our goal is to analyze the complete performance without changing the original tuple. That is our aim. Okay, so let's see what is the first thing. First, we are storing the data. Okay, so the 10 scores. Okay, scores first we are storing and we are just printing it. That's it. Okay. Second, we are going to use some basic statistics. That's where we are going to identify the maximum value, minimum value, the total, and also the average. Okay, so here to identify the highest value, as we already saw, max method was used. So max of scores. So it will give me the highest score. So here the highest score is 95. Okay, and lowest value, minimum, min of method, and sum of method. So this will give me the total. Okay, and average, total divided by len of scores. Len of scores is number of values available in the tuple. Clear? So we are printing everything. I'll show you the output. Okay, so this is how we are printing the highest value, lowest value, total, and the average. So this is how. Total is 795, number of scores is 10. So how to identify the average? 795 divided by 10, which is 79.5. So in Python, to identify the average, this is the formula used. Sum of scores divided by len of scores. Okay, then repeated scores. This is how many times the particular number has occurred in the tuple. So to identify that, we use count method. Okay. So this will tell me how many times value occurs. Here what we are going to do is we are going to identify the scores which are greater than or equal to 75. Okay. So for that what we do is we create a dummy user defined name above underscore 75 equal to 0. Okay, we just create a variable here. Then for score in scores, so this is also the user defined. So here why we are using for loop is we are going into each and every value in the tuple. Okay, so in that case we use for loop. So we'll be traveling through each and every element in the tuple. So in that case, if the score is greater than or equal to 75, so whatever number is greater than or equal to 75 will be taken into consideration. Okay, that's why we have given here plus equal to 1. It keeps on adding. So if it sees some number above 75, immediately it keeps adding 1 plus 2 plus 3, like this it keeps on adding. Okay, add, and finally totally will be having 6. Okay, 6 numbers that are above 75. Okay, so that will get printed. Clear? Then highest position. So what this particular part will do is it will identify the highest number first, and then it will identify what is the index value of that number. That's why we use this index method. Okay, so first using max method we are identifying the maximum value, and then using the index method we are using, what we are doing here, we are identifying the index value of that number. Okay, that's it. So 95 is the highest number. So what is the index of it? 8. Okay, so this is how we are identifying the highest position. Here what we are doing is we are creating a new tuple and we are going to store the value. So here we are creating a variable named high scores equal to open parenthesis. Okay, it's an empty tuple we are creating. Then using for loop, we are going to store each and every value into this tuple. So if score is greater than or equal to 80, so what numbers we are going to store? If whatever scores is greater than or equal to 80, that will get stored in this empty tuple. Okay, so that's what I'm given here, high scores plus equal to of score. So this is what the score comma what it will do is whatever score I'm getting inside this tuple, it will get separated with the comma. That's why this comma is given. Okay, so this is how we create a new tuple and the original will stay unchanged. Okay, so this is the complete program. Okay, so here if you see scores is 10 scores we have given. We have identifying the highest value, lowest value, total, average, and then above average we are identifying, and above 75 and high scores. Then using for loop we are identifying the value that is above the average, and then greater than or equal to 75, and 80, which is scores which are above 80 will all be stored in a new tuple called high scores. Okay, next score 92 equal to scores dot count of 92. So it will identify how many times 92 has occurred. Okay, next this is the expected output. So this is how it will be. So highest is 95. Okay, lowest is 54, total 795, average is 79 by 5, and you know how did you get this 79.5? That is 795 divided by 10. Above average is 5. Okay, score is of 92, that is how many times 92 has occurred? 2 times. Similarly 88 is also 2 times. Then scores greater than or equal to 75 is 6. Okay, how many values? I told you 6, only the number will get printed, not the numbers. Like above 75 means it will not print like 76, 78, 92, 65. No, how many numbers are there above 75? That will be printed. 6. Okay, next highest index 8. Okay, highest value first it will identify, and then it will identify the index value of that. Okay. Next is scores greater than or equal to 80. As I told you, it created a new tuple and then it added all the numbers that are above 80 with comma separated. That's why we mentioned within the brackets score comma. Okay, that's why we got it like this with comma separated numbers. Okay, so this is the challenge for you all. So you are going to try on your own with whatever numbers you want. You can add like 10 to 5 numbers you can take, and there you can find out how many students scored below 60, what percentage scored 80 or above, what is the second highest score. So all that you can identify it. Okay, so you can pause the video and you can try it on your own. So these are the things that we learned. So we created a tuple, we did some indexing and slicing, then immutabilities where we learned how tuple cannot be changed, and then we used some methods, max, min, sum, len, and we used some count and index methods also. And we also saw how to use for loops and if conditions in tuple, and then also we created a new tuple. Okay, so these are the things we learned. So if you have further doubts, please put it in the comment section. Thank you.